Bing boing bing. Everybody has a story to tell with Toddy One Skip. So Jen and I met again through a pane of glass. I was a commissary manager. She was an inmate. July of 1997. She was 22. I was 34. And I didn't even know if she had an interest. So I just knew that moment just, and I've had a few moments like that in my life where I've just been taken aback and just fell in love in that moment, and I did. And so anyway, we started our relationship by writing to each other and calling each other, which was a bit tricky because it was totally against the rules. And and so mind you, a week before, I said, wow, I'm going to marry this girl. So we started writing to each other, and I couldn't write longhand to her because I had worked in that jail for several years, and people knew my handwriting, the deputies and such. Back then, there wasn't JPay and all that, so the inmates actually had to call a landline and had to call collect. And I think that they could speak for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and they could call twice. So I would race to my ex-girlfriend's place, which once upon a time ago was my place too. I probably shouldn't have used that address, but I hadn't lived there in a few years. And the phone number, I guess they didn't keep any of that on file. I was stupid. But Jen used to call there. And, I lived in Virginia at this point, and that house was in Maryland. So that whole Beltway area, if anybody's familiar with that, is a bitch. And I would race to go and get those 20-minute phone calls. And, Jen was totally sober during that time. So I really got to know her. She never asked me for anything as far as giving her stuff for the commissary. She had people putting money on her books. She had friends. And, that's really important to say because I want to jump a little bit, but it's important to say this. So about a year and a half into my relationship with Jen, when she was no longer in jail, I was gifted a lot of money by my dad. I no longer have it, but I was gifted a lot of money by my dad. And it's important to say that Jennifer paid her way. She never wanted to be a kept woman. Her work ethics were beyond. I tried to give her an old car of mine, and she wouldn't. She insisted on paying for that car, and she learned how to drive a stick shift. Her mom wanted to meet me, and her mom was 10, 11 years older than me, and a big fan of Jen's exes, not current girlfriends or boyfriends. When Jen had told me that, she said, my mom doesn't like anybody I'm currently dating. So her mom made a point of telling me that she didn't think Jen was a lesbian. So, and my response was, well, she might not be, but she's claiming to be in love with me, and I'm going to go with that. And that was kind of the response that I gave my dad decades before, not decades, but, a long time before, at least a decade before, when I told him I was gay, and he said, well, I think it might be a phase you're going through. Okay, it might be, but right now it's real. And obviously all these years, not a phase. But, so, and Jen's mom ended up being a real big fan of mine after we broke up. I'm not going to go into Jennifer's upbringing or Jennifer's childhood. Suffice to say, she didn't have a relationship with her dad, and the relationship that she had with her mom was strained. There's two sides to every story. I'm not going to speak for Jennifer except to say that her relationship with her mom was trying at times, but she definitely loved her mom. We all come from some sort of shit, and we could go back, because I've got my own issues with my mom, and when you go back, it's issues she had with her mom, and her mom's issues that she had with her mom. And I mean, we can keep going back, but at some point you have to break the cycle. And if you have the tools, you should do it. And if you don't know any better, but people are saying, this something's not right here, you should maybe look into that. I learned something, and I'm going to have a video about my dad. But my dad said to me, and I totally buy this, and this is a creed of mine. If one person says something about you, okay, let it go. If two people say something about you, and it's the same thing, it's a coincidence. If three people that don't know each other are saying the same thing about you, chances are it's you. I learned the power of math. Jennifer was pretty much on her own when she was too young to be on her own. And she did self-medicate by drugs. And unfortunately, she did like that lifestyle. But at this point in her life, at 22, she had been incarcerated a couple times, and she didn't want that anymore. I felt very loved by her. I'm glad that I married her, because that's something she and I had. So, anyway, Jen and I, we had moved to upstate New York. That wasn't for her. It was for me. I loved it. She had said she wanted that life, and, unfortunately, it wasn't for her. She liked exactly where she was, in the metropolitan D.C. area, preferably the Arlington area, and not me. But then we made a compromise, and we moved to Florida. Now, this was my family. Jen and I, we had 2 dogs and 3 cats. Jen got her GED. She was very smart. Book smart and street smart. So what a danger that is. You know what I'm saying? And she was beautiful. And she was beautiful inside. Anyway, she graduated, and then she went to college. And though college wasn't really for her, she did try a first semester. Jen was a server, and she was a great server. And she thrived, especially when it was busy. And she'd make really good money. And she was very generous with that. And after a while, she became an excellent bartender, where she made even more money and just enjoyed the people. And probably not the best job for her, but she definitely, they loved her. And she had great work ethics. She did great. And we'd often go to these amazing restaurants because Jen was food driven. We would find new music together that might be old music. Like, we had found Nina Simone in that Bridget Fonda movie. And we both so we bought the CDs and there were so many things that we just connected to and enjoyed. We went to Woodstock 99. That was a shit show. But we had a great time. Jen was quite sunburnt, but there was a lot of great music. We made the best of it. We survived it. And we saw a lot of great concerts when we were together. We had front row seats to like Lenny Kravitz. We saw Foo Fighters, Chili Peppers, Alanis Morissette, Bare Naked Ladies, Third Eye Blind. We saw so many bands and so many great movies. We spent almost 7 years together, so we were trying to make it for a while. And there were some great times in between them. Our first date, basically, we got arrested, thank you, Jen, because she wanted to... I was under the impression she used to live in this apartment development, and she just wanted to go to the pool. And she had never lived in the apartment development. She used to sneak to the pool area, and here we were late at night doing that. And yeah, we got arrested. I got community service hours because apparently there was some sort of vandalism happening, and we knew nothing about that. We had nothing to do with that. So I should have known then, huh? That I would be on this trip. And I'm bouncing all over the place here. Jen and I married at the courthouse, but in Broward County. But really, Jen and I consider us that we had married that day on the beach where we drove from the East Coast of Florida to the West Coast. So we caught the sunrise, and then drove and caught the sunset, and just had a really great day. That was in 2000. I went through with it with Jen. I look back now and I can see that there were times that maybe Jennifer was using, and it probably wasn't heroin. That was pretty clear when Jennifer started using heroin, because there was a paper trail behind that. And that's really too bad, because at the height of our relationship over the course of those years, we did some amazing traveling. We went to Colorado, we went to Florida, we went to Disney World, and we acted like a bunch of kids. Couldn't get off of that rock and roller coaster. We both loved it. We rode that so many times. We went to Epcot. It was the memorial thing. So during that, we had they put our names permanently there, so our names are still there. We went to New York City, Times Square. We saw shows on Broadway. We had a really great time. Jen was somebody who could love beyond gender and beyond color. And that is a beautiful thing, because that is what's missing today in this world. That is the biggest lack. And she was a great cheerleader. You know, not literally a cheerleader, but she was, when she believed in you, you felt you could do anything. The light would shine on you when Jen was next to you, because the light shined on Jennifer. It's too bad that she had the problem that she had, you know, the drug problem that she had. Jennifer was the type of person that she didn't say bad things about people. She didn't speak ill of people. She never lied about who she was. She never pretended to be somebody she wasn't. And her story should go on, and I'm sure it will, because she helped so many people. She genuinely cared about people. And her actions supported that. I remember when she gave all of her tip money for over a week to a friend for a medical procedure. When something meant something to you, it meant something to Jen. She would make these elaborate dinners. And mind you, you didn't get online and look how to make things back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, you actually had to either have cookbooks, and Jen had cookbooks. She had a passion. When she had a passion, she just had a passion for everything. You know, she probably lived so much and experienced so much love and life in just the 46 years that she was here. You know, because there shouldn't be a moment wasted when Jen was around. She had this infectious laugh, like it wasn't expected to leave her lips, or that wasn't expected to happen.
No, I'm recording.
Oh shit.
You know, we weren't together for the last, I'd say, 15 years or so of her life, but we worked really, really hard on being friends. Really hard on maintaining the closeness and the confidence that makes you more than family. You know, with Jen, I always felt there was home. There was always a welcoming, I'm glad to see you. Jen made efforts to go out of her way to see people that she loved and to stay in touch with the people that she loved. And not a lot of people do that, you know? And when we broke up, it wasn't because I didn't love her. It wasn't because she didn't love me. It was really because I couldn't be with an active drug user and she couldn't help herself at times. That journey was just, it wasn't perfect. I made my mistakes. I don't think that I'm built to share my life with somebody. But with Jen, I tried harder than anybody. It just wasn't meant to be. So we took that, and we had some problems, but we took that and we worked really hard on making a friendship that we would constantly be in touch with throughout the rest of her life. Jen passed. She died September 22nd, 2021. I miss her because she never left my life. She just left where she was. I used to think that your soulmate was the love of your life, and being that I had 3, the soulmate is the person that makes you feel empty when they're gone. There's a piece of them. The shape of Jennifer, more unique than any other shape, never will fit the puzzle completely. Always have the gap, because there's nothing in me that is exactly the shape of her. I never thought that she and I would get back together after 2004. I never thought that she and I would get back together, but I always knew that we would be in each other's lives. And Jen was in a long-term relationship when she died, and I'm not going to speak upon that relationship. Jen and I have stayed constant friends. I was a confidant. I would say that Jen was happy, and I would say that Jen loved, and Jen, I believe that this person loved Jen. Jennifer was an incredibly strong person that through everything survived, and unfortunately ended up being a statistic to a fentanyl, to taking fentanyl thinking you're taking something else. So that's sad, right? That's sad to have somebody's life extinguished like that. Bing, boing, bing. Everybody has a story to tell with Toddy One Skip.